We are back with The Tempest and we are looking at Act 2, Scene 2. We have done Act 1 completely, Act 2, Scene 1 completely, rather exhaustively. Very important scene. And now we are looking at Act 2, Scene 2, which is not really a very major scene because none of the major characters are involved. It's a subplot of kind, almost like a parallel track, like in Indian movies, especially Tamil movies, you have Vivek and Badivelu kind of scenes, the comedy scenes. Of course, now in Hindi movies, you don't have any comedian in that sense. The hero himself does most of the comedy. So this is like a subplot which is kind of moving parallel, but it has a bearing on the main plot later on in the drama. So, which is why it's important, because Caliban is really the main person in this particular scene, and Caliban, as we know, is a very important character. I hope you have seen the Caliban introduction scene which we did earlier, because that kind of will give you an idea about the kind of person he really is and why does he have so much of anger and angst against Prospero, right? Now, Shakespeare, before I start this particular scene, Shakespeare essentially would use these kind of scenes with a purpose. It's not as though he's using this for time pass. One, of course, it is to ensure that the entire play did not seem very heavy with a lot of plotting taking place, because so far we have seen Prospero being angry. He wants to get back his dukedom of Milan. He wants to ensure that Ferdinand and Miranda fall in love with each other. They get married so that she can become the queen of Naples. There is Sebastian and Antonio doing their own plotting. So there is Alonso who is grieving over his son. So in that sense, the atmosphere is very heavy. So this kind of a scene kind of provides some kind of a relief to the audience which is watching this play, so that the entire whatever is unfolding on stage does not seem very heavy. The other reason why he introduced these kind of subplots into the play is also to help the main actors get some rest, also change their costumes, because remember, this will all be on stage being staged. So in that sense, they would also get some time to change their costumes, change their getup, etc. for the next scene. So this would be used as an interim period of sorts, right? So good playwrights always took care of these kind of nuances. They thought of the manner in which it would be staged, right? Now, of course, as a reader, we think, what kind of a scene is this which is coming inside in between a very big and heavy plot? Caliban, all the infections that the sun sucks up from bogs, fens, flats on Prosper fall and make him by inch meal a disease. Now, it is Caliban who has entered this particular scene and he is carrying wood along with him. His spirits hear me, and yet I needs must curse, and they will nor pinch, fright me with urchin shows, pitch me in the mire, nor lead me like a firebrand in the dark out of my way, unless he bid them. But for every trifle are they set upon me sometime, like apes that maw and chatter at me, and after bite me, then like hedgehogs which lie tumbling in my barefoot way, and mount their pricks at my footfall. Sometime am I all wound with adders, who with cloven tongues do hiss me into madness. Lo, now lo, here comes a spirit of his, and to torment me for bringing wood in slowly, I will fall flat, perchance he will not mind me. So if you see the kind of language in the first part before he notices Trinculo coming in, and I'll tell you who Trinculo is, the language is very rough and it kind of conveys a lot of anger. Now, just to kind of tell you about some of the words which are used. Inch meal a disease. Inch meal essentially means bit by bit. Okay. Then you have yet I needs must curse. Needs as in yet I necessarily, definitely must curse Prospero. Now, urchin shows is a reference to goblin shows, right? That, goblin again was something which was used to frighten, right? Then you talk about firebrand. Essentially, firebrand means a piece of burning wood, right? Then you have, we'll go through the rest of the words as we go through the entire piece of long dialogue by Caliban. Now, Trinculo and Stefano are essentially the survivors of the shipwreck, right? They have arrived on another piece of this island, right? And Caliban sees them and gets the idea to hatch a conspiracy against Prospero. And Caliban, we have seen that he is doing this kind of very ordinary menial jobs like collecting firewood for Prospero, and he's full of anger and he's cursing Prospero when this scene unfolds. And he says that may all the diseases, all the infections that are drawn up from marshy land actually fall on Prospero. So he's kind of cursing Prospero, saying that the sun which kind of sucks up the diseases and they should land on Prospero. Bogs, fens, flats, that is from all the marshy and the swampy land, all the diseases that the sun has sucked, they should all fall on Prospero. Then he says that even though he is aware that Prospero's magical spirits, his spirits hear me, he is aware that Prospero's magical spirits are there all over the island. So he is kind of intimidated and scared of Prospero's magical prowess. So he says that he knows they're all over the island and they can even overhear him cursing Prospero. Yet he says that he will still go ahead and curse Prospero, that he is not afraid and he does not care. So he says that pretty openly that he's aware and he's conscious of Prospero's magical powers and he knows what it can do to him, as we saw in the earlier scene. But now he is feeling a little emboldened and he says that irrespective of the fact that they can still hear him, overhear him, he will still go ahead and curse Prospero. Now there is a particular reason why Caliban is actually daring to curse Prospero now, because unless Prospero, and that's what he says, unless Prospero gives orders to these spirits, these magical spirits, they will not pinch him or frighten him or throw him into the muddy pool or lead him in the wrong way. Fight me like urchin shows, pitch me in the mire, nor lead me like a firebrand in the dark out of my way, unless he bid them, unless Prospero ordered these magical spirits. However, for every insignificant thing, he sets these spirits on me. So Caliban is kind of painting a very negative picture of Prospero, that he is very spiteful, that he kind of sets these magical spirits on Caliban in order to teach Caliban a lesson. And they bite me, they make faces at me, they chatter like hedgehogs, they prick me every time I walk barefoot. Now hedgehogs that he is referring to are essentially, they are not the same as porcupines, though they look very close to like porcupines when you see the photograph on Google. Now spirits, he says, they take the form of these hedgehogs, and even wild animals are actually terrified of these hedgehogs, on what they can do even to wild animals. Now then he refers to sometimes like apes that meow and chatter at me, meow as in chew and chatter at me, and after bite me, that is afterwards they bite me, then like hedgehogs which lie tumbling in my barefoot way when I am walking barefoot, and mount their pricks at my footfall. Sometimes am I all wound with adders. Now adders are the only venomous snake, the poisonous snake known to Great Britain. Okay, so this is a reference that he has taken from Great Britain, and they are also known as common adder or black adder, ADDER, and they have forked tongues which makes them look like very crazy kind of reptiles, crazy kind of snakes with their cloven tongues, forked tongues. Now when then he sees Trinculo coming. Trinculo and Stefano, the two survivors from the shipwreck who have come on to this part of the island where Caliban is there right then. So when Caliban sees Trinculo, he thinks that he is a spirit of Prospero. Okay, so he is mistaken. He believes that he is a spirit of Prospero and that he has now come to torture him because he has been a little slow with his job that has been given to him, that of collecting the wood. So he plans to escape this torture that this magical spirit will actually inflict on Caliban by falling down flat so that Trinculo does not notice him. So it's a bit of a jovial kind of a scene, a bit of a foolish, nonsensical, silly kind of a scene, basically also meant to make the audience laugh. Now here comes the spirit of his and to torment me for bringing wood in slowly. I will fall flat, perchance he will not mind me, that is, he may not notice me. Trinculo enters the scene. Here is neither bush nor shrub to bear off any weather at all, and another storm brewing. I hear it sing in the wind. Beyond same black cloud, yon huge one looks like a foul bombard that would shed his liquor. Right now, bombard essentially means a vessel which is holding liquor. Though some people also refer to it as a reference to water, but bombard is essentially a vessel which is used to hold liquor. Now Trinculo is looking for a hiding place to save himself from the storm from which he has just escaped on the shipwreck, during the shipwreck, to come and arrive on this island. Now the interesting thing out here is that he uses a line later on, were I in England now as once I was. So it's a little strange because the entire story is set in Milan and in Naples. So why is Trinculo referring to England? That seems a little strange out here, the way Shakespeare has written it, because he should ideally be from Naples. He says that if I had drawn a portrait of this fish, right, of this fish, that is when he sees Caliban out there, and exhibited it, every man in England would have given me a coin of silver. Basically, before that he says that there is no bush or shrub to fight off this weather at all, and another storm is brewing, and I hear it singing. So he's kind of painting a very visual image of the kind of storm that is brewing. The same black cloud, and there is a big liquor like vessel which will pour, which could be a reference, as I said, also to water that will pour once again, basically using this very bombastic language to indicate the arrival of another big storm, and they would fall by the bucket. And then he sees Caliban and he refers to the fact that if I had drawn a portrait of this fish and exhibited it, every man in England would have given me a coin of silver. So it's a very strange thing, because he is actually mocking at and taunting, taking a jibe at the people of England, right? That it would make anyone more wealthy and get a fortune, because these people, that is the people of England, would otherwise not even give a coin to help a beggar, but they would give 10 coins to see a dead North American Indian. The reference that he is making later on in this particular dialogue, a dead Indian. He is not referring to Indians like us, but is referring to a red Indian, the North American Indian, right? So he says that the people of England would actually go to the extent of doing such things. So it's seen as a slightly taunting remark on the people of England. So he says that it also shows it's a social comment which has been made by Shakespeare out here through Trinculo, and it also shows the indifference of the people of England. So it's a social comment, because remember, plays written by William Shakespeare were seen by a large majority of people. So in that sense, he also used this particular platform, used this kind of forum in order to drive a point across. Alas, the storm is come again, my best way is to creep under his gabardine. There is no other shelter hereabouts. Miserly acquaints a man with strange bedfellows. I will here shroud till the dregs of the storm be past. Dregs as in the last part of the storm has passed, I will be here. Gabardine is essentially a reference to a cloak which people in those times essentially wore, right? Acquaints a man, that you need to become friendly with such kind of a person. Circumstances are such, and thereafter he creeps under Caliban's garment, that is the gabardine. Enter Stephano at that point in time, and he is a little intoxicated. He is carrying a bottle in his hand. He's saying, this is a very scurvy tune to sing at a man's funeral. Well, here is my comfort, and he goes on to sing a song. Now scurvy is a cheap and a rotten song, and he's basically singing a sailor song. Now sailor, fisherman songs are seen, of course they are very musical, but they're also seen as a little rough in terms of the kind of lyrics that are there. Now Stephano had jumped into the sea with a casket of royal wine, and that's how he has this lot of liquor with him, and he has hid it somewhere and he's enjoying every bit of the wine. And Caliban, when he's kind of talking about this particular, he's singing this poem, the master, the swabber, the boatswain and I, the gunner and his mate, loved Moll, Meg and Marian and Margaret. Pretty nonsensical, not something very relevant, essentially shows that he is in that kind of a high spirits at that point in time. But he says that even this is a cheap rotten song. So he himself is very sure that the song that he is singing is of a very cheap kind of nature, and he continues to drink. Caliban, do not torment me. Oh, Stephano, what's the matter? Have we devils here? So he's not able to see them, but he's able to hear those sounds. Now, Caliban thinks that the spirit of Prospero, which has got into the gabardine, is actually pinching him, which is actually Trinculo. Now, Stephano thinks that Caliban is a devil, because Trinculo is actually inside the cloak. So Stephano, who is also drunk, thinks that it is a creature with 4 legs, because he is able to see Caliban and is also able to see Trinculo's 2 legs. So he is able to see 4 legs, and he thinks that there is some kind of a devil which is there inside the gabardine, and because he is also drunk, so he gets those kind of imagination. And he says that have I escaped from this storm and the shipwreck to be scared of these kind of 4-legged creatures? And in that sense, it's also a reference to a man who is on crutches, right? So he says, as proper a man ever went on 4 legs cannot make him give ground. So he says, a man who ever went on 4 legs. Now 4 legs, a man can go on 4 legs only when he is on crutches, right? So Stephano is kind of trying to say that as long as he is alive, these 4-legged creatures cannot scare him, right? Now, Caliban, the spirit torments me. So he is kind of continuing to think that this spirit of Prospero, that is Trinculo, is kind of pinching him and torturing him. This is some monster of the isle with 4 legs. Who hath it? As I take it, an ague, or it can also be pronounced as og. Okay, so there can be 2 different pronunciations. Where the devil should he learn our language? I will give him some relief, if it be but for that. If I can recover him and keep him tame and get to Naples with him, he is a present for any emperor that ever trod on neat's leather. That is, neat's leather, whoever walked in cowhide shoes, shoes made of cow leather. Now Stephano is surprised that Caliban is actually speaking his language, that is language which Stephano can actually understand. Now this is interesting because this language is taught to Caliban by Miranda. So you see that connection which has been made, Milan, Naples, and this particular person who is there on that island, because he is speaking the language which was taught by Miranda, which is why Stephano is able to understand the language which Caliban is speaking. Otherwise, the language which he may have spoken would have been absolutely not understood by Stephano. So he says that he can actually give him comfort from fever, because he believes that he is suffering from some kind of fever by giving him, what does he have? He has wine. So he says that I can actually give you wine and that can cure you of your fever. And he says that I can take you to Naples, right? He is a present for any emperor that ever trod on neat's leather. So he says that I can take you to Naples and actually present you to the emperor. Do not torment me, Prithi. I will bring my wood home faster. He is in his own world, right? He believes that this is all a punishment because he did not get the wood on time. So he is continuing to say things in the same vein. Now it's interesting that Stephano wants to take him and present him to the emperor. Now Stephano says that he is in his fit now and does not talk after the wisest. He shall taste of my bottle. If he have never drunk wine before, will go near to remove his fit. If I can recover him and keep him tame, I will not take too much for him. He shall pay for him that hath him, and that soundly. Soundly as in he'll pay for it dearly. Now Stephano believes that Caliban is actually delirious. He probably thinks that he's also intoxicated and is not really, at least not talking sense. It could be because of the fever, it could be because of some other reason. And he says that let me give him some wine and let me cure and tame him, and whoever buys him should actually should pay Stephano. And if he has not ever tasted this wine, he will actually recover from the fever from which he is actually suffering. But Caliban, we see, is obsessed with Prospero and the magical spirits. Though thou me yet but little hurt, thou wilt anon, I know it by thy trembling. Now Prospero works upon me. He says that I know it for a fact that you will hurt me soon. I know it by your shaking that Prospero's magic works on you, right? Now, Stephano, come on your ways, open your mouth. Here is that which will give language to you, cat. Open your mouth. This will shake your shaking, I can tell you, and that soundly. You cannot tell who is your friend. Open your chaps again. Open your chaps as in open your mouth again. And he gives Caliban part of that drink. So this is interesting because Stephano wants to kind of cure Caliban and probably do some kind of a deal as far as Caliban is concerned. I should know that voice. It should be that voice, but he is drowned and these are devils, oh defend me. Now Trinculo has heard Stephano and he has recognized Stephano's voice. So he speaks out saying that, oh, I should know that voice, but wasn't he drowned? So he does not know that Stephano has also emerged unscathed out of the shipwreck, just like everyone else has, thanks to Ariel and Prospero. So Stephano now recognizes, Trinculo has recognized Stephano's voice, but he believes that they are devils who are impersonating, who are behaving and speaking like Stephano. Stephano, 4 legs and 2 voices, a most delicate monster. His forward voice now is to speak well of his friend. His backward voice is to utter foul speeches and to detract. If all the wine in my bottle will recover him, I will help his ague. Come, and he pours, I'll pour some in thy mouth, in thy other mouth. Now this is interesting, and again, as I said, a bit of a comedy which is taking place on stage. So Stephano, when he hears another voice, he says that, oh, 4 legs and 2 different voices, and he says wonderful monster, and the other mouth that he's referring to is actually Trinculo's mouth, in which he wants to pour that wine. And he says, Trinculo calls out, Stephano, doth thy other mouth call me? Mercy, mercy, this is a devil and no monster. I will leave them. I have no long spoon. Long spoon essentially is to keep the monster away. So he gets scared that this is actually a devil and no monster. Trinculo, Stephano, if you be Stephano, touch me and speak to me, for I am Trinculo, be not afraid. So he identifies himself saying that he is Trinculo out there and not a devil. Thy good friend Trinculo. Oh, if you be Trinculo, come forth, I will pull thee by your lesser legs. If any be Trinculo's legs, these are they, draws Trinculo out. So he pulls him out of the gabardine. How come you are here? And he said, I took him to be killed with a thunderstroke, but art thou not drawn? So they are basically discovering that the other person is actually alive, and whether the storm has blown over, and I hid under the dead moon calf, that is moon calf's gabardine, for fear of the storm. And art thou living? Stephano, O Stephano, 2 Neapolitans escaped, that is 2 people from Naples who have escaped. Moon calf is essentially a reference to the monster's gabardine, right? Moon calf as in monster. Prithi, do not turn me around, my stomach is not constant. Now both of them are delighted to see each other, and Stephano says, do not turn me too much around because my stomach is not okay, probably as a result of too much of drinking. Now Caliban aside, now can be heard only by the audience, not by either Trinculo or Stephano. He says they don't look to be like spirits, and that's a brave god, and he bears celestial liquor. I will kneel to him. So immediately he kind of plots that I will kneel to this guy, that is Stephano, because he's carrying liquor with him, right? Stephano and Trinculo are talking. How did you escape? How did you happen to come here? And I went on a butt of sack which the sailors heaved overboard by this bottle, which I made the bark of a tree with mine own hands since I was cast ashore. So he's kind of talking about how he kind of escaped from there. And Caliban is watching these 2 people, Trinculo and Stephano, in conversation, and he can understand the language. Why? Because he has been taught that language by Miranda, and he realizes that they are not the spirits of Prospero as he suspected till then, and he thinks that Stephano is actually a noble god, and he will become servile to Stephano and wants to become his servant instead of being Prospero's slave. And Stephano is telling Trinculo that he made a bottle from the bark of a tree, and he's basically seeming to speak in a very incoherent kind of manner, the way he kind of escaped from the shipwreck, right? Liquor which is not earthly, essentially referring to heavenly drink. And he says that I escaped with the result of this kind of bottle, and he made the bark of the tree with mine own hands since I was cast ashore, right? So that's how Stephano describes, and Stephano says, kiss the book, and he gives the bottle to Trinculo. So again, a bit of a comic element. He's drunk, he's intoxicated, so he almost gives the bottle to Trinculo to kiss as if it was some kind of a holy book. Man in the moon, O Trinculo, hast thou more of this? The whole but man, my cellar is in a rock by the seaside, where my wine is hid. How now, moon calf, monster, how does thine ague? So, how is your fever right now? So, now Caliban, haven't you dropped from heaven? So he obviously believes that he has dropped from heaven. Now he says, I was the man in the moon when time was. Stephano says this is an important line. So Caliban essentially believes him, and he says that my mistress showed me thee and thy dog and thy bush. So my mistress is a reference to Miranda, right? So I was the man out of the moon, I assure you, I was a man in a long time ago. So again, making fun, having a bit of fun at Caliban's expense. Come swear to that, because he does realize that Caliban is pretty taken in by Stephano. Come swear to that, kiss the book, I will furnish it anon with new content, swear. That is, I will provide you with more wine. Now, in a sense, Shakespeare, by kind of talking about this kind of liking for liquor as far as Caliban is concerned, in that sense, he is also humanizing the monster that Caliban is, and that's an interesting aspect that he has done in this particular scene. By this good light, this is a very shallow monster, I am afraid of him, a very weak monster, the man in the moon, a most poor, credulous monster, well-drawn monster in good. So now you see a bit of a competition, a bit of a rivalry between Stephano and Trinculo, because Trinculo does not like Caliban, and he says that he will be a robber who will steal Stephano's bottles of wine, right? But Caliban believes that he can be completely servile to Stephano and be at his disposal, right? And he is referring to him as, I will kiss thy foot, I will swear myself thy object, and he refers to himself, and Trinculo calls him a puppy-headed monster, right? So that's a kind, puppy-headed monster is another phrase that you can use for Caliban in your answers. A most scurvy monster I could find in my heart to beat him. He gives the drink to Caliban, and that the poor monster is in drink, an abominable monster. I will show thee the best springs, I will pluck thee berries, I will fish for thee and get thee wood. So all the work that he does for Prospero, now Caliban offers that he will do the same for Stephano and be his servant, while Trinculo calls him a ridiculous monster and calls Stephano a poor drunkard. And Caliban is telling Stephano the wonderful things that he can actually find on the island and how he can guide him through the island. A most ridiculous monster, I prithee, let me bring thee where crabs grow, and I with long nails will dig thee pig nuts, show thee the jay's nest and instruct thee. So basically telling him the different aspects which can be found on that particular island. So I prithee thee now, filberts, scamels, marmoset. Basically filbert nuts essentially a reference to hazelnuts, scamels is a reference to falcons, the bird, and the marmoset is a reference to the monkey. So essentially talking about the kind of flora and fauna that are found on that island that only Caliban knows very well. He has told all this to Prospero and Miranda, and now he is offering to do the same with Stephano. Stephano, I please now lead the way without any more talking. Trinculo, the king and all our company else being drowned, we will inherit here. So he says that since our king and everyone else is drowned, we can become the king of this particular island. We will inherit here, bear my bottle fellow Trinculo, we will him by and by again, that we will continue to feed him with liquor so that we can make use of him, right? A howling monster, a drunken monster. Trinculo absolutely not amused by that. Caliban, no more dams I will make for fish, nor fetch and firing, at requiring, nor scrape trencher, nor wash dish. Ban, Caliban has a new master, get a new man. So he's kind of singing and he says, now I have a new master, that I will not build any more dams in order to catch fish for the sake of Prospero. Hey, hey, freedom. So he believes that he has secured his freedom and he has changed his master from Prospero to Stephano. So that's as far as Act 2, Scene 2 is concerned. From the overall point of view of even an examination point of view, maybe not important, but sometimes just like 2020 examination saw a dialogue of Lancelot from Merchant of Venice, this kind of a character of Stephano, Trinculo, Caliban can also come almost like a googly question in section A or even in section B, where you would be having to answer this question. So you would do well to prepare Act 2, Scene 2, because it kind of plays a certain part as far as the plot of the Tempest is concerned. I'll see you now in Act 3, Scene 1. Thank you very much for watching.